You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds. You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and also streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in. That's 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Or you could find me on TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. Whole lot to do today. Former NFL defensive lineman did play with the Rams and also the Detroit Lions. And in addition to that, did star at LSU. Michael Brockers is going to stop by at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time today. But we got to pick up where we left off yesterday, and that's maybe with the most entertaining politician that we have in the sports world right now. And that's the governor of Louisiana, who when I hear him speak, I still feel as if he sounds like Mocha Joe from Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he also looks like Mocha Joe. I've never seen Mocha Joe from Curb and Jeff Landry in the room at the same time, but here we are when we take a glance at this governor from Louisiana who is not only using his words at the podium in a big way, but he is really attacking the current athletic director at LSU in Scott Woodward. As we all know, this does stem from Brian Kelly being ousted as the head football coach on Sunday, as he had another loss and it just wasn't working out for the Tiger family. So let's just revisit. This was at a press conference yesterday where Jeff Landry made it clear as they are getting ready to look for a new head football coach. Remember, LSU does not have a current president. They are down to 4 semifinalists. They'll pick one of them. That will be the next president of the university. Matt Moscona, who does a great job covering LSU, he was on the show earlier in the week, and he said to us, well, he doesn't expect Scott Woodward to be there for that long. He thinks it's inevitable that they'll hire a new president, and the new president, his first move is going to be to get rid of the current athletic director in Scott Woodward, who gave the big contract to Jimbo Fisher at A&M, gave the big contract to Brian Kelly at LSU, and then obviously we know what the buyouts ended up being for one Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly. Well, the Brian Kelly thing, we're figuring it out. There was a report that they agreed to a buyout and they agreed to a new rate on the buyout. That has since been refuted, but there's a lot of speculation, which nothing that is verified. So I'm not going to sit here and use my platform to just speculate and maybe accuse people of things that they may or may not have done. But there's a lot of stuff on like a morality clause of Brian Kelly, and it's going to be a reduced buyout. I don't know what's true there, so I'm not going to put that on Brian Kelly. But either way, LSU's going to owe Brian Kelly a lot of money. And then, oh yeah, by the way, they got to figure out who their next football coach is going to be. And if you're a Lane Kiffin, if you are an Eli Drinkwitz, if you are one of the names that are going to be associated with this job, and LSU fans, we led the show with this yesterday, I don't think that Nick Saban is going to be the next head football coach at LSU. Maybe he'll be the next athletic director at this rate. I don't know. But when you go through all the names that are out there for the LSU job, whoever you want to speculate, they are sitting and watching what's going on right now as you have the governor of Louisiana, who is just crushing the current AD, whether he's going to be there or not, in Scott Woodward. You don't have a president, and supposedly a lot of this stuff with Landry, yes, it's being built up as this is because of the way that the contracts were constructed and all this stuff, and he's trying to show sympathy to the taxpayers, which we'll get into more of that in a second because I really don't get it. If you got the boosters that are going to pay the money, as long as the boosters pay the money, then the taxpayers aren't going to have to pay. But he clarified that on Pat McAfee today because, yeah, a governor. How about this? A governor of Louisiana is doing the rounds today. He's on Pat McAfee's show. I saw he's going to be on Moscona show as well. But you're sitting there as a potential candidate for this job. And here's something I know, being associated with coaching searches and talking to enough coaches through the years. Coaches use one word in college and even in the NFL: alignment. Alignment is the biggest word that they use. And in the NFL, you want alignment with the GM and the head coach. In college, you need alignment with the president, the AD, and the head football coach. So let's just say I'm Lane Kiffin right now, who has a nice job at Ole Miss. I'm king at Ole Miss. I could do whatever I want. No one's going to say anything. Now, LSU, I think, is a better job than Ole Miss. But if I'm Lane Kiffin and I'm monitoring this in the last 24 hours, I'm looking at LSU like it's a bleep show. Because you have a governor attacking the current athletic director, and they don't have a president in place. So I don't know what the timeline's going to be here. But Moscona, I'll take his word. I'll trust his word. I guess he's the only trustworthy source in this. If he's going to say, okay, they're going to hire a new president, and then the new president is going to fire the AD, and it's inevitable before they hire a new head football coach that there's going to be a new AD in place or Woodward's going to be out, that's a lot of hoops to jump through. If I'm someone that is happy in my job and not just looking for a bag of cash, I got to know before I take a job who the new president's going to be and who the AD is going to be. Because what happens if, let's say, they hire a president, the president fires Woodward, the president just says, I'll take, along with a committee, I'm going to hire the new head football coach, and then they bring in an AD, and then the AD and the football coach don't get along. So there's a lot of messy situations right here. But let's revisit yesterday, because I'll tell you, whether you like this guy or not, and I don't know much about his politics, just this character of the governor of Louisiana and Jeff Landry, he makes me laugh. Right? He just sounds how you would think a governor of Louisiana would sound. And then also there's some inaccuracies in what he had to say. And just the idea that the governor of Louisiana is basically going to war with Louisiana State University to get this athletic director out. And he's pulling all these strings. And Samter and I joke about this all the time. Sports and politics, sports and politicians, they usually don't blend well. It usually gets messy. It is usually a sticky situation. But here was Jeff Landry yesterday holding court and making it clear that Scott Woodward will not be picking the next head coach.
No. I can tell you right now, Scott Woodward is not selecting the next coach. Hell, I'll let Donald Trump select it before I let him do it. I don't know, but the Board of Supervisors is going to come up with a committee, and they're going to go find us a coach. Hold on. One real quick thing on that. Because here's what y'all reporters need to do. Y'all need to start looking at who represents all these people, like these agents. You know what's interesting? If I'm not mistaken, Woodward's agent, Kelly's agent, the Texas A&M, they're all the same agent. Like, you realize if I would be, I don't know how many sports writers we got here today? Just you. We should have a bunch, okay? Like, this is ridiculous. Lawyers would be disbarred for the way these agents act and the way they're able to represent. In fact, there's no doubt, they may even represent some of the players now. Like, it's really time for the NCAA to put on some guardrails in college sports. Because, and it's fine. We don't need the guardrails. If big billionaires want to spend all that kind of money, no problem. But if I got to go find $53 million from Kemp, it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. I'm just telling you.
Oh, my God. So the funniest thing is he is accusing Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly as having the same agent, and they were in cahoots with Woodward. Well, as we told you yesterday, Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly do not have the same agent. Let's continue. This is more of Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana, on Woodward and not having another huge buyout down the road.
We are not going down a failed path. And I wanted to tell you something. This is a pattern. The guy that's here now that wrote that contract cost Texas A&M $70-something million. Right now, we got a $53 million liability. We are not doing that again. And you know what? I believe that we're going to find a great coach. I mean, maybe we'll let President Trump pick it. He loves winners. You know? I'm not going to be picking the next coach. But I can promise you, we're going to pick a coach, and we're going to make sure that that coach is successful. And we're going to make sure that he's compensated properly. And we're going to put metrics on it. Because I'm tired of rewarding failure in this country. And then leaving the taxpayers on the foot, to foot the bill. So, yeah, absolutely.
I forget the comparison I used yesterday, but I've workshopped it more. This governor, he actually sounds as if Christopher Mad Dog Russo and Ed Orgeron had a baby. He would be the offspring. Look, I'm telling you. That's what he sounds like. He really does. That's how I expect the governor of Louisiana to sound. So Jeff Landry is going on the car wash tour today. He was on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN. And he was asked straight up, is he going to hire the next coach at LSU?
No. Listen, emphatically, I am not picking the coach. That is not my job. The only reason I'm really involved, Pat, is because this contract that currently is between the state of Louisiana, the Louisiana State University system, and Brian Kelly leaves the taxpayers of the state on the bill. There's misinformation out there. People are saying, oh, no, the taxpayers aren't liable. They're not reading the contract. On Sunday, I had a meeting with the lawyers as they were talking about whether or not Brian Kelly was terminated, whether they were going to fire him. And all I cared about were the taxpayers of our state. And that contract binds the state of Louisiana. If we have to pay $53 million and somebody else doesn't step up to foot that bill, the state of Louisiana has to foot that bill. That is in the contract.
So here's what I don't understand. And Samter, I feel like you're probably more of the litigious mindset and the political mindset than I am. I just like to sit here and talk sports, but then politics, politicians put their hands in the cookie jar, and I got to react to it. So in that contract, as the governor did explain from Louisiana, Jeff Landry, he is saying the only reason he's saying something right now is out of the fear that if they have to pay the 50-something million buyout or whatever gets negotiated, let's say it gets knocked down to 20 or 30 million, if someone doesn't foot the bill, then the taxpayers have to pay it. So here would be my follow-up. In theory, LSU would not move off of, right, how I understand this, and this is for any program. Like, look at Florida State. Why isn't Mike Norvell not fired yet? Because they don't have the money yet. So they're begging their boosters to foot the bill, and then boom, they get the money, and then they could afford the buyout, or they could afford to fire Mike Norvell and pay him whatever he's owed. So if Louisiana State University, LSU, has already fired Brian Kelly, don't you think they have the guarantees and the promises and at least the word of the boosters and, right, people that will foot the bill to say, hey, this is the money that we're going to pay to fire this coach? That's what I would assume. I think that's a logical explanation. So it seems like this governor, if I'm understanding this correctly, he's just coming off really paranoid. I think he's trying to sell you something that isn't really all that true, whether it was the inaccuracies on who the agent is for Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly, and now pushing this idea that the taxpayers are going to have to pay this, where if I understand the way that it was explained to me, there is a very minute chance and the slimmest of chance that the people that said, hey, we're going to pay this amount of money to get rid of Brian Kelly for their love of, right, LSU football and the Tiger family are now all of a sudden going to go back on their word. At least the way that I explain it. Maybe I'm wrong, though.
No, I think that you have it right there. I think he's doing what politicians do, and that's to drum up fear, to make people find an enemy and try to make them angry about something. The reality is you're probably right. The boosters probably are going to be footing the bill. But he's also not wrong that if the boosters choose not to do it, or if they only cover 40 of the 50 million or whatever it is, maybe the negotiations of the buyout doesn't work as well as LSU hopes, the state will have to fund whatever the boosters don't cover. So he's not wrong, but I get the idea that you're probably right that LSU has assurances. But the reality is, when it comes to these public universities, whether it's Florida State or remember, Jim Calhoun had that famous conversation about being the highest paid employee in the state of Connecticut. You know, when you're talking
about your facts straight or whatever that was.
Yeah. When you're talking about public universities,
and then he said, "Shut up" to the guy. I love that.
When you're talking about public universities that are funded by taxpayer money, it's a different kind of animal than a private university like, I don't know, Clemson or Auburn or whatever, where the money all comes from donors and tuition and all these different kinds of things. So the money comes from different places. So I get it. I feel like the governor is maybe trying to score some political points because
that's what he's doing.
If you can get fans on your side, fans are passionate. Fans are rabid.
Brian Kelly isn't popular. So what the governor is doing is just beating a dead horse to try to use it for political gain. Hey, I'm a governor that loves football. I'm a governor that loves LSU. I'm a governor that sees that people aren't too fond of the AD right now and Scott Woodward. So let me kick him while he's down, and also let me pounce and make it appear, even though he's not going to hire the next head football coach, but make it appear that I was the guy that brought the golden ticket and kind of was was speaking and fighting for the voiceless and airing out the opinions of the common man to the big boosters and the board and the search committee that's going to pick the next head football coach.
And I think part of it is also setting up the precedent for next time. Because, yes, maybe this time the boosters are covering the cost of a big buyout, but maybe next time they won't.
Yeah.
Or maybe next time if
But here's the
Woodward
thing.
makes the hire, like there might be some other problem, and now the boosters don't do it, and then the people of Louisiana are on the hook.
Yeah, but here's the problem. The structure is not going to change. So in theory, if you're saying he's trying to do this to get the buyout to drop down for the next head football coach, well, then you're not going to get a big-time football coach. Because even medium-sized football coaches, their buyouts are astronomical. That's just the structure. Like, if you want Lane Kiffin, let's say, and I think most people in the LSU world would be thrilled with Lane Kiffin. You think Lane Kiffin's going to sit there and go, oh, because this governor of Louisiana wants me? If you want to fire me in 2 years from now, it's only $10 million. No, it's going to be like $60 million, as it always is.
I don't think the buyout will change. I think the sources of the money for the buyout might change in the contract. So, like, in this contract, it says that the state and the citizens have to pay if the boosters don't pay. Maybe it just changes the wording of the contract moving forward, so there's no chance that the state has to foot the bill, or maybe they can only foot a certain percentage. But at the end of the day, it's probably, to me, it sounds more like politicians doing politicians things.
Do you remember in Mr. Deeds?
I mean, of course.
When they had that scene at the end where where Sandler's trying to convince everyone to just do what's in the goodness of your heart, and you have the guy from the slaughterhouse that basically just gets up and says, "You're going to try to convince all of our, all of us billionaires to start hating money," and he eventually does. But that's what this kind of feels like in this situation. The boosters, they have money, they have a unlimited amount of funds, and what do they love the most? Football. They think in their little minds, these boosters, that they could control all these decisions and they could do everything. So the boosters are always going to give the money if they could think in their mind, oh, I get more of a say in the program. I get to do this. Do you know how many times I've talked to coaches and coaches' family members that will say, oh, when we're on a road game, I'd rather sit in the stands than sit in a luxury box, because on the road, right, in your home games, you get your home box and all that. But on the road, you're in the box like the athletic director and all the boosters. And those people think that they get to make every freaking decision in the program, not the football coach. So it's just one of those things where those people that have the money are going to always love football because they're trying to live vicariously through it. So if they could be the knight in shining armor that down the road has to buy out another coach at $40 million a year or be a big booster to that, they're always going to front the money. Now, I will say this. I think the biggest thing to monitor is, how does this impact the LSU coaching search? So 2 things from Ross Dellinger, who wrote a great article. Hours after LSU's athletic administrators began down the path to firing Kelly, Governor Landry gathered board members, donors, and select university administrators at the Louisiana governor's mansion to formally authorize the firing of Kelly. But he's not going to pick the next head football coach, right? Despite several members of LSU's athletic administration staff attending, Woodward was not one of them. Perhaps not invited, considering the next fact in this story. While at the gathering Sunday evening, Landry strongly suggested something to those present. He wanted Woodward fired as well. It goes on to say in this article that that's probably because the creation of a search committee, right? He's sitting there. He wants a search committee created. Little did the governor know, was already in the process, led by Woodward and LSU Deputy Athletic Director Verge Osbury. Oh, let me clarify this. This all goes back to Scott Ballard on WBRZ News. Let's play this real quickly. So this is the LSU Board of Supervisors chair on Landry's comment in terms of the idea that either Landry's going to pick the new coach or the board of directors is going to pick the new head football coach. Go ahead.
Governor Landry announcing today in a press conference that the Board of Supervisors will be heading that up. Do you have any response, any comment at this time?
No, I didn't know that.
Do you have any idea what the next steps might look like?
Next steps are we're going to go hire the best coach for Louisiana State University. I promise you. Go Tigers.
So let me clarify here. The Board of Supervisors, or whatever they want to call it, Landry said is going to pick the next head football coach, not the AD Scott Woodward. Well, in this Dellinger article, they responded to that clip. And Dellinger said that's probably because the creation of a search committee, little did the governor know, was already in the process, Led by Woodward and LSU Deputy Athletic Director Virgil Osbury, the future of that committee is now unclear. The drama greatly impacts the candidate pool for a job that most experts contend is the best open gig in all of college football. At a time, here we go, when alignment and resourcing is at its most important, LSU suddenly seems to be problematic in both areas. Quote, they are turning a top 3 job into a bleep show, close quote, says one agent who represents football coaches. Quote, does the governor know how damaging this is to their search? Close quotes, asked another. So the governor is trying to get political gain here. The governor's basically saying, I'm trying to be the man. I'm the guy. I'm the voice of reason here in this whole search. But there are people saying what he's doing is doing damage for potential candidates. Now, ultimately, do I think LSU will get a good football coach? Yes. I think they're either going to hire Lane Kiffin or John Sumrall. And Sumrall is going to have to prove himself because he's the coach at Tulane. We know that Lane Kiffin is established. LSU is such a great job. With that being said, in the interim, the governor should shut up. Because the governor is not helping the search committee, is not helping whatever the future is going to be, because these coaches look for alignment. And right now you have a university that doesn't have a full-time president. They're doing that search. There's speculation that the AD is going to be out. And what happens to the AD? Is it out? And he stays. Like, the alignment is all over the place. So I would just, you did your little dance yesterday. You took your victory lap today, even though I didn't really think you won. I would lay low now. Because if this continues up for the rest of the week and leading into next week, then this is a traveling circus. And you can't afford this to be a traveling circus, because then it could do just significant damage to some potential candidates in a new era of college football, where they'll say, you know what, the coaches, I'm happy where I'm at right now. I'm winning enough. I don't need to go to this disaster at LSU. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
How about the Toronto Blue Jays? We really got to give it up to them. Now, the job's not done yet. They still got to win one more game. This series does shift back to Toronto on Friday, and they'll have a chance to close it out in front of their home fans. And if they need to, they will have 2 chances to do so. They're up 3-2. But think about where we were from Game 3 to now, where Game 3 was on Tuesday night, and it was that 18-inning affair. Or no, was it Monday night? Was Monday, Tuesday? Yeah, because today's Thursday. Sorry. Well, it was also probably felt like Tuesday night, too, when Game 3 happened. But on Monday night, because I was watching the Chiefs and the Commanders, and then also the Game 3 of the World Series. But think where they were Monday night, where they lose in 18 innings, Springer gets hurt, they're down 2-1, and everyone's declaring that the World Series is over. Now, I was like the lone voice that said I thought the Blue Jays were going to win Game 4, and the Blue Jays did win Game 4, as they did basically ride the back and the bat of one Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And then last night, even with it being 2-2, and praising yesterday and giving many words of extolment yesterday to the resilience and toughness of the Blue Jays, I just thought that this was primed for the Los Angeles Dodgers to win Game 5. And I was very confident the Dodgers were going to win Game 5. And I get it. Trey Savage has been one of the best stories you'll ever see. Kid's 22 years old. He was in single-A baseball to begin the season. He didn't get called up to the middle of September. He's had 3 regular season starts. He had more postseason starts than regular season starts. And he keeps just mowing down hitters left and right. And for this kid last night to hit, to strike out 12 Dodgers batters, 12, and find a way to secure a victory up against the LA Dodgers to put Toronto 1 win away from the World Series, it is just tip of the cap, hats off to the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, you got to go win the next 2. And I said this yesterday, I actually thought it was more imperative, even though you're going back to Toronto, for the Blue Jays to win Game 5 than the Dodgers. Because even though you'd be going back home, if the Blue Jays had to win both 6 and 7, up against this Dodgers team with the names that the Dodgers have, I didn't think that was going to be very likely. Can the Dodgers go to Toronto and can they win 6 and 7? Yes, they can. But at this rate, you look at what the Blue Jays have done from just the storyline of after Game 3 to what has transpired 4-5. Unless if you are a Dodgers fan, you got to be rooting for the Blue Jays. And I know I say it in jest that they are America's team right now. But this story has just been so bleeping awesome. And you see all the names for the Dodgers. The story of this World Series right now and the story of the postseason right now has been Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He is on one of the all-time great postseason runs that we've ever seen in the playoffs. And that features the Yankees, the Mariners, and the Dodgers. As the Blue Jays are one win away from hoisting that piece of metal, the Commissioner's Trophy. He's batting .415. He has 8 home runs, and he has 15 RBIs. Or RBI, I will say it correctly, or in a snooty way. And he's only struck out 5 times. And he's also walked 12 times. And you look at it from a historical standpoint, most home runs in a single postseason. 2025, you've had Ohtani with 8, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with 8. Number 1 is Randy Arozarena back in 2020. Corey Seager in 2020 at 8. Nelson Cruz in 2011 at 8. Carlos Beltran with the Astros, what a run that was in 2004. He had 8. Barry Bonds, 2002, before they did lose to the Angels with the Rally Monkey, had 8. And Adolis Garcia with the Rangers back in 2023 at 8. So think about what Vladimir Guerrero is doing, and it'd be very fitting in either Game 6 or Game 7. You could go touch them all, Joe. But it would be very fitting if you say touch them all, Vladdy, and he hits a walk-off home run to win the World Series. But, man, this has been so fun. And would it be so cool to see the Dodgers with their names come on back and win 6 and 7 with Toronto? Yeah, I could even admit it would be cool. But as someone that doesn't have a dog in the fight, I am rooting for the upset here because entering this World Series, not many people were picking the Toronto Blue Jays. And after Game 3, no one was picking the Toronto Blue Jays to come on back and win this World Series. So it has been special, special, special. And then some, obviously, when you take a look at what's going on in this World Series. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. Actually, real quickly, Ack is here. So we've had another rap on this network.
Uh-oh.
So you heard Shep, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, you heard Shep a few times rap.
I'm going to go, the rapper this time is Pat Boyle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you've been paying attention behind the scenes.
No, but I just took the personality.
Okay. There was a rap done last night by Pat Boyle on Trey Savage's unbelievable performance and unbelievable run. We're going to have Ack be the Simon Cowell of the group. Nico is probably our Paula Abdul, and I'll be Randy Jackson. Usually Samter is the one that is Simon Cowell, but we will take him out of this conversation today.
Uh-oh.
So here is the Pat Boyle rap from last night that was heard on the Infinity. We don't have it? Put it in the system. So do we have it? We're good? Okay. Here we go. Here was the Pat Boyle rap from last night.
Good music.
Trey is savage, doing major damage. He was the complete package. That splitter is wreaking havoc. He's a savage. Trey is savage. He's gonna be living lavish. Cause the Blue Jays have the advantage. The title is within their vantage. He's a savage. Trey is savage. Catching the Dodgers slacking. He'll be making major cabbage. It's his rite of passage. He's a savage.
Oh, my God. So that is based off the song Savage by Megan Thee Stallion, who is dating Klay Thompson right now. And that was Pat Boyle last night. Ack? Well, actually, let's save the best for last. I feel like Ack's going to have the best review here. Nico, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to give that a 3.5 out of 10.
Oh, and you're Paula Abdul. You're supposed to be nice. So a 3.5 out of 10.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Okay. Samter, we'll let you into this. You could be the Seacrest of the bunch.
Guys, it's been really, really great having you listening in. I think Pat is trying really, really hard. You know, he might not be the most talented guy out there, but the effort was there.
Okay, can I have Prick Samter here? Can you give your honest opinions?
He's giving Shep a run for his money. That was bad. That was really bad.
I still think it's better than Shep, but that's not saying much.
See, the only reason why it's even close to being better than Shep is just because you can tell he wrote it, rehearsed it, and practiced it. This wasn't like a freestyle.
Yeah.
Shep, to his credit, was freestyling, and it was awful. This is written.
Was Shep really freestyling? He made it such a point of emphasis to go out of his way to say he wasn't freestyling.
The first two times
that he
I
was
think he
freestyling,
was.
that I kind of feel like he memorized everything.
The first two times he was definitely freestyle. I think he was freestyling mostly. The last time was 100% reading off a script.
Okay. When he was trying, well, see, I disagree. I think the first two times he had the stuff prepared and written out. And then the third time, he probably just rehearsed it in the shower or like before the show. And he kept on saying like, AP, I don't have anything in front of me. Right. Come on. There was and then at the end, it just kind of tailed off. I think he just failed in the memorization department. All righty, Ak, what do you got? By the way, Boyle, you know, let's just do the radio show, okay?
Absolutely. Stick to that. Now,
I like the cabbage line. Just so out of place.
The production wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It did beat Shep, but that was a low bar to clear. But it sounded as if like it was AI generated.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
Yes, and it was Boyle. So you stick to your day job. Better than Shep. Long way to go. Good effort. Good production. But missed the landing badly.
Yeah. All righty.
That's like that's like the Daredevil is jumping 14 buses and he misses on. He comes down on bus number 10. Like that's what it was like.
Well, you could come up with a comparison like that. Yeah. All righty, we will come on back. We will take a look at a little pressure at college football for this upcoming weekend, what is supposed to be a very good slate. Update time first. A man that is not going to wrap his update. I don't think you will rap in your update, correct?
I couldn't try. I couldn't do it if I tried.
Maybe you should freestyle an update.
Yeah, that's not good. That's only going to get us in trouble.
Here he is, who cares at this point? Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Old Trapper. Listen up, because not all beef jerky is the same. Old Trapper is better for you and higher in essential protein than chips, sugar-filled energy bars, or candy. So ask for Old Trapper by name, because no other jerky compares. Old Trapper, what's your beef? It's already week 9 of the NFL season, and it begins with the Dolphins and Ravens in Miami. Baltimore snapped a 4-game skid, winning its second game of the season Sunday. And tonight, Lamar Jackson returns after missing 3 games with a hamstring injury. The Dolphins are also coming off their second win, and John Harbaugh cautious about what is awaiting.
We know it's going to be a big challenge down there. We've been down there before. We've been down there on Thursday night before, and we know how it is. So we'll have to do everything we can do to get ready and be ready on a short turnaround. That's what we're working on.
The Cardinals reportedly expect to start Kyler Murray Monday night after he missed 2 games with a foot injury. Take Matt Rule out of the coaching cycle, reportedly agreeing to a 2-year extension at Nebraska. The Nationals are reportedly finalizing a deal to name 33-year-old Blake Butera their new manager, who'll become the youngest person to hold that post in the major since 1972. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. First, let me tell you about our friends at Hyundai. This portion of the show is sponsored by the all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. Learn how it's so much more than just another SUV at HyundaiUSA.com. So, should be a really good weekend in college football. It's one of those weekends where if you got anything to do, make sure you do them before Saturday, because I would say just throw them off to Sunday, but then the NFL slate on Sunday is always must-watch, even though it was terrible last week. But you got to do what we do best, and that's sit on the couch and watch football. It's funny. Penn State, Ohio State was supposed to be this massive game, and it's so lackluster now with Penn State being 3-4, and obviously Ohio State's at 7-0. You got Vanderbilt in Texas. That's a 9:20 matchup at 12 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. Diego Pavia with Vanderbilt. Texas, we'll see if Arch Manning is going to be able to play. I saw he did practice this week as he's looking to clear concussion protocol. Miami SMU is an interesting one. SMU's been disappointing at 5-3. Miami is 6-1. Also on the slate this upcoming weekend, you have Georgia and Florida. That's always in Jacksonville. And you keep it moving, Texas Tech and Kansas State. Kansas State is not as good as what we thought they were going to be. They're 4-4, but Texas Tech is 7-1. You got South Carolina and Ole Miss. South Carolina has been disappointing, but Ole Miss is 7-1. You do have Georgia Tech and NC State. Can NC State, with Doran on the hot seat, pull off the upset? They're 4-4 in the season. Georgia Tech is 8-0. And then at night, it gets really good. You got Oklahoma and Tennessee right at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. You get Nebraska hosting USC at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then at 10:15 p.m. Eastern time, late. But in Utah, you get Cincinnati and the Utah Utes. So should be a good weekend of college football. So let's skip around the room. And when we skip around the room, we will do one player or coach, however you want to do it, who is under a tremendous amount of pressure this weekend. And I'm going to start with Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia is trying to tell you he's a Heisman Trophy candidate and that he should win the award. I think he is a candidate. I would not make the case for him to win the award right now. And Diego Pavia up against Missouri, the numbers weren't sensational. He was 10-29 for 129 passing yards, no touchdowns, throwing, one interception, did have a rushing touchdown. But I look at this right now. They're 7-1. You're going up against a Texas team that has been nothing special this year. I know that Texas has a very good defense, and that's the way that Texas can win the game. The way Texas can win the game is because of their defense. So I need to see a Heisman-level winning Diego Pavia this weekend. And here's the thing. This number, it's a funky spread. I saw that it was originally Texas minus 2.5. Now it's Texas minus 3.5. So this keeps on going uppity with Texas on the spread. It's one of those things where it's begging me. It's screaming at me. Why wouldn't you plus the points of Vanderbilt? And we usually know how that ends up playing on out. So maybe Vegas knows something that I don't. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure this weekend on Diego Pavia. Nico, first name?
I'm going to go with Jeff Brom at Louisville. Ooh. And the reason I say that is because we saw a similar situation a couple weeks ago with Matt Rule and the rumors of him leaving Nebraska to go to Penn State. And that week, Nebraska slipped up and lost to Minnesota, a team that they're better than. And I think a lot of that had to do with the idea of all the rumors getting into that locker room. And I'm nervous that a similar situation now could happen with Louisville. They're on the road at Virginia Tech, a team that they're better than. But now Jeff Brom becoming one of the favorites to get the Penn State job with Matt Rule signing his extension at Nebraska. I'm nervous for Louisville this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah, the other thing that I wonder here is how much is the legitimate noise around Jeff Brom? Like, he's a very good coach. He's at his alma mater in Louisville. So he's passed up becoming the head coach of Louisville before. Then he finally took it and left Purdue, where he did a very good job at Purdue. Is Penn State going to hire Jeff Brom? Is Florida going to hire Jeff Brom? Is LSU going to hire Jeff Brom? Like, he's on these lists, but how much is the talk actually real, or is it just speculation? That's something I'm still trying to figure out. I don't know the answer to it. Samter, go ahead.
I'm going Carson Beck. Obviously, he had that brutal loss against Jeff Brom in Louisville with the 4 interceptions. They won big last week against Stanford, but he had 1 touchdown and 189 yards passing.
Yeah,
so
and it's
he
also
was moving up
like
as a Heisman favorite. Then he dropped, and potential number 1 overall pick again, and he's been really bad. Outside of the big game against Florida State, he has no touchdowns and 1 pick against Florida, no touchdowns, 4 picks against Louisville, 1 touchdown, no picks against Stanford. He hasn't been playing very well. A lot of pressure on him against SMU and Kevin Jennings, the regular season champs from last year and the ACC championship runner-up. So I think there's a big week for them. They're actually 6th right now in the ACC because there's a bunch of other teams who played more. They're 2-1 in conference. There's teams that are undefeated and 4-1 and 3-1. So, this is a big, big game. If they lose this, they may not even make it to the ACC championship game, and they might miss out on the playoffs.
All righty, my next person, it's going to be Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. USC, Nebraska, that is a beatable USC team. And Emmett Johnson, the running back at Nebraska, has been a stud this year. This needs to be a Dylan Raiola star game. It really does. Raiola has the potential to be a heck of a quarterback. I like him a lot. Last week, he had that bad interception up against Northwestern. They were able to avenge it. We know Nebraska can run the ball. Nebraska's defense has been improving, even though there are some issues up against the run, and they allowed a big run last week up against Northwestern. But this needs to be this probably is going to be an offensive slugfest, and it's outdoors in Lincoln. It's going to be a blackout crowd, so we'll see how USC travels with that. And not having in a great weather climate, it's supposed to be cold, but this needs to be a Dylan Raiola, like, put the flag in the ground. We're Nebraska, and we got a chance to set ourselves up if they win, where they'll be a favorite up against UCLA, Penn State, and Iowa, to then win out and be a team that could go to the college football playoff, even though it's not as if they have like a great win this season, because even if they beat USC, it's a good win. But I wouldn't say it's like a big boy win. But you got to beat a team in the top 25. You weren't able to beat Michigan last time. It wasn't Raiola's fault. He played well in the game. You had that stinker up against Minnesota where the offensive line was horrible. This is a huge pressure week, I think, for Dylan Raiola, especially also when your coach just gets an extension. And that was announced today, and he's not going to be leaving. Raiola got to play the part this week. Nico?
I'm going over to Kirby Smart at Georgia. This is an interesting game this week against Florida. Rivalry game, obviously. Georgia, though, the way better team coming off of the big win over Ole Miss. I know they had the bye week in between, but this is Florida's first game without Billy Napier. You'd have to think that they're going to be extra amped up and ready to go for this one. And then when you look at Georgia's upcoming schedule at Mississippi State, who even though they're 4-4, they've played very competitively against all the ranked teams that they've faced. Then you got Texas, then obviously the cupcake against Charlotte, but then at Georgia Tech. So it's not easy for Georgia down the stretch here. This is a game they have to win against Florida.
And Samter, take us home here.
Last one, Lane Kiffin for me. They had a big bounce back against Oklahoma after losing their first game against Georgia. Coming up, they got South Carolina this week, then the Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State. They should run the table, but with Lenore Sellers healthy, he hasn't been great. This is probably the biggest challenge left this year. So if you win this game, it feels like it's kind of a cakewalk into the SEC championship game, or at the very least to running the table and battling for that position. So this is like a big win for Kiffin to really stamp himself and then, do what they have to do the rest of the year.
Now, can South Carolina play Alabama well last weekend? Can they get the victory? Sure. I actually think Mississippi State, out of all the opponents they have left, is probably the toughest opponent, which is crazy and shows you how poor South Carolina has been this season.
But they are winless in the SEC.
Yeah, no, we'll get to this QB and that QB on the other side. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Michael Brocker is going to join us coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern Time as well.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, welcome back in. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is a Thursday in football season, so either on Thursdays or Fridays. It just depends on how the week is flowing. We do a little segment called This QB or That QB, where a list of quarterback matchups for this week and this week only will be read to me, and I will tell you which QB I would prefer, not for the rest of the season, not for the next 5 years, but just for this week. So, without further ado, Samter, what do you got cooking for me this week when we take a look at this matchup?
All right, we're going to start in the National Football League. All right, we're going to go over with the Chicago Bears. We don't know officially the status of Joe Flacco. He is apparently 50-50 for the Bengals, but assuming he does play, Caleb Williams or Joe Flacco?
So we have a Caleb Williams who's okay. He's fine against Joe Flacco, who is playing behind a garbage offensive line, and he's 50-50 to even play in this game. So basically he's damaged goods. If the Bears can't slow him down, that's a problem, even though there's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So I will go with Caleb Williams.
All right, let's look at this. This kind of on paper doesn't sound great, but two high first-round pick quarterbacks, Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young, or Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers?
Trick question? I like the way that you worded it.
I mean, Love is having a good year, but not a great year, and Bryce Young has kind of taken the next step forward.
What?
So
No, he hasn't. They just lost 49 to the Buffalo Bills.
Well, the Bills are good.
This is easy peasy. I'm going with Jordan Love here. I don't even think this one's up for debate. Don't get me wrong. Bryce Young has had some moments this year, but he's still 25th in passing yards on the season. He's 16th in passing touchdowns. This dude is just not a franchise quarterback. His best game of the season, statistically, was probably either Dallas or the loss to Arizona, where they had that crazy comeback and then just fell short. This guy, for the most part, gets you like 150 to 200 passing yards, and he'll go complete like 60% of his passes. He just doesn't have the it factor for me on the NFL level. So give me Jordan Love.
I think this is another similar situation, but Michael Penix Jr., if he plays, or Drake May?
Michael Penix Jr. is very inconsistent. There are some weeks where you look at him, and I know he didn't play last week, and Kirk Cousins was in at quarterback, and the Miami Dolphins opened up a can of whoop ass on the Atlanta Falcons. But Michael Penix Jr., it's either all or nothing. Drake May is a better quarterback, and even when he's not at his best, he still gives you good performances. Drake May has the potential to be a superstar. I think Michael Penix has the potential to just be a fringe top 10 guy. And Michael Penix Jr. up against Drake May. Drake May, when there isn't a play to be made, finds a way to make a play with his legs. Drake May's playing some awesome football right now, and it's a joy to watch. And if you put Drake May with Drake London and also Bijan Robinson, hello, that would be something. Where you look at the weapons around Drake May, what does he really have? Ramondre Stevenson's fine when he can hang on to the football. Travion Henderson hasn't popped off yet. Keyshawn Booty's had a nice relationship with Drake May. Stephon Diggs is good, but he's no longer elite. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper really don't do it a lot for you nationally. So if you put Drake May on the Falcons, and you maybe put Mike Vrabel on the Falcons too, and you just swap coach and quarterback, man, the Falcons really could be something special. So I'm going Drake May.
All right, now there's no guarantee that Brock Purdy is going to play for the 49ers, but it's
trending that way.
Huh?
It's trending that way.
Yeah, it's trending that way, exactly. So let's go with Brock Purdy, or for the Giants, Jackson Dart.
That's a tough one. I'm going to go Brock Purdy. Dart now does not have Cam Scatterbo, and Malik Neighbors is also donezo for the season. I know that the weapons for the 49ers aren't great either because of all the injuries that they had, but Brock Purdy's done more in this league, so I'll give him the slight edge here, but I don't think it's an edge by a great margin because you also don't know the health of Brock Purdy, and he's going to have to shake off some rust here, and you wonder how much rust there is to shake off because he did come back, and then he got hurt again, and then he was out for a longer absence. So I'll lean Purdy here, but it's not with great confidence.
This one seems like something we would never have asked 2 or 3 years ago.
And I think it's an easy answer.
Colts and Steelers, Daniel Jones or Aaron Rodgers?
Daniel Jones.
Crazy to say that, right?
And I didn't even hesitate when I say that. And don't get me wrong, Rodgers isn't playing bad football, but Daniel Jones, in theory, up against the Steelers defense, oh boy. Him and Jonathan Taylor should be running stupid all through this Swiss cheese defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know it's a week-to-week league and things could change in a big way, but that Steelers defense was offensive in the second half up against the Green Bay Packers, and James Harrison almost lost his mind with just a lethargic effort from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones. He is playing some great football right now, and as I said yesterday, for the second week in a row and Take 5 Wednesday, Colts right now are the best team in the NFL. Oh, my God. That's something.
Just barely ahead of my Jets, right?
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way. I know you were out the last 3 days.
On what? On losing the first pick?
Oh, you got to win.
Whatever.
You got to win. Boyle yesterday shaking his pom-poms and hyping up Justin Fields for dominating a horrible defense in the Cincinnati Bengals. It's funny. Justin Fields, when he plays horrible defenses, the Steelers or the Bengals, looks good. Against everybody else, yeah, not so much.
All right, let's go to Houston. You got the Denver Broncos heading to play the Texans. Bo Nix or C.J. Stroud?
You know, I think these quarterbacks are similar. And Bo Nix first year makes the playoffs. C.J. Stroud first 2 years makes the playoffs. And then, wins a playoff game in both those seasons. Obviously, Bo Nix didn't win a playoff game last year as they lost to the Denver Broncos. But I think there's a difference in making a good first impression and then being viewed as a great quarterback. And I think both these guys at times could look like a top 10 quarterback, but I don't know if we're ever going to be sitting there anymore into the future and saying, hey, C.J. Stroud or Bo Nix are elite. So I do wonder how they navigate this moving forward. C.J. Stroud has really regressed, and I know they could change the play call. The offensive line stinks and all that. But when I watch C.J. Stroud play, he just doesn't pop off to me anymore. Like, he's average right now. 11 touchdowns, 5 picks on the season. He's 14th in passing yards. I look at Bo Nix. I think he's just slightly better than that, where it's 15 touchdowns passing, 5 interceptions, and then he's top 10 in passing yards, 1,803. I'm going to go with the guy that I think has more moxie here, and that is Bo Nix.
All right, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Vegas Raiders. Trevor Lawrence or Geno Smith? Neither is not an acceptable answer.
Yeah. In a weird way, this is going to be a funky way I'm going to answer it. I'm bizarrely confident in the Raiders this week. But if you ask me just the quarterback matchup, both these quarterbacks are nothing special. I will take Trevor Lawrence, though. I think he is the better quarterback, but I do like the Raiders at home to win the game. I just looked at that spread, and I saw it was 2.5, and the Raiders are home. You give me 2 bad football teams, and you have 2 football teams, and the home team's a home dog. I'll take the home dog 9 times out of 10.
This is the big one of the weekend. Kansas City Chiefs, my Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, now you're back on that bandwagon?
I never left. I don't know what you're talking about. 5-3, they are dominating. Patrick Mahomes going up into Buffalo against that other guy, Josh Allen.
I'm taking Mahomes this week. I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but in Buffalo, they're asking Josh Allen right now to do everything. I know James Cook is on this team, but I know that they dominated the Panthers last week, but it's the Panthers. My head is still stuck on and being in that locker room and just seeing the dejection from the Bills after they lost the Atlanta Falcons and Josh Allen wasn't at his best. Now, could Josh Allen light it up this week? Absolutely. But Mahomes is just playing some magnificent football right now, and there's more diversity with the Chiefs, and Rashee Rice being back is massive for that team. So for this weekend, this week only, I will take Patrick Mahomes.
All right, we look at the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels or the surprising Sam Darnold and the Seahawks.
Man. And Daniels has I know he's in line to return, but McLaurin's going to be out. So we got to see how much rust he has to shake off. This is a weird one because going into the season, if you ask me this, I would say Jaden Daniels easily. I'm going to take Sam Darnold in this one. Sam Darnold, he's not great, but he's just playing solid football on the season. And I think there's a better chance that Sam Darnold pops off this weekend than Jaden Daniels. Sam Darnold is, I think, quietly just having a very good season where a lot of us wondered out of Minnesota, was he going to replicate what he was going to be able to do? Sam Darnold is kind of on track to have a very similar season to the one that he had last year. So give me Sammy Slinging Donald over Jaden Daniels. Who would have thought I would ever said that?
And last one here in the NFL, we don't get a rematch of the former number 1, number 2 pick of the same draft, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, because of Wentz's injury. So we're going to get J.J. McCarthy going up against Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, easy. I love J.J., but J.J.'s played in 2 games in his NFL career. And for 3/4 of the first one, he looked horrible. Then somehow won NFC Offensive Player of the Week with the way that he played in the 4th quarter up against the Bears. And the second one, he was no bueno up against the Falcons. Goff is not a great quarterback, but he's a very good quarterback. So give me Jared Goff. And now we go to college. Alrighty, what do we got?
Okay, great. Let's start off with one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game of the weekend. You got number 9 Vanderbilt and number 20 Texas. Diego Pavia versus Arch.
And it's trending that Arch Manning is going to play in the game. And I would think that's even more so with the spread going up from 2.5 to 3.5, which I thought was interesting that you do have Vanderbilt as an underdog this week. I'm going Diego Pavia right now. I know he's not going to be afraid of the moment, even though Arch is playing better. I still don't know how Arch responds. Even though I like, it's weird saying Vanderbilt Texas is a big game, but it is a top 25 matchup. Arch to me has just been too inconsistent in those big games. So give me Diego Pavia.
All right, we got number 5 Georgia and Gunnar Stockton going into Florida to take on the Gators in the Swamp and DJ Lagway.
Yeah, DJ Lagway is just all over the place. Sometimes he pops off, other times he's just a flat-out dud. I know that Gunnar Stockton, even when he doesn't play at his best, he's still a playmaker, and he just still finds a way to keep them in the game. Give me Gunnar Stockton.
All right, now it looks like Will Hammond is out for the year, the backup quarterback for Texas Tech, which means that Baron Morton, who's probably going to start anyway, but he's trending in that direction. So let's go Baron Morton and number 13 Texas Tech traveling to Kansas State to take on Avery Johnson on the Wildcats.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Baron Morton is a starter before the year, then he gets hurt, then Hammond comes in, and then you just have this injury going all over the place. Avery Johnson, he's been so disappointing this year, and so is the Kansas State football team. You know, it's funny until you ask this, because of how flat they've been, early in the year, I haven't really paid attention to them. But in a weird way, Avery Johnson has put lipstick on a pig here, where it was really ugly early on. And if you just looked at his numbers right now, he's got 5 rushing touchdowns, 15 passing touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He has almost 1,800 yards through the air. And Baron Morton, who is a good quarterback, and he's been banged up a lot, his numbers have been spectacular, but with all these injuries, it's concerned. I'm going to go actually Avery Johnson just for this week and this week only. I think a lot of people forgot about him. Statistically, he's having a good season, but this was supposed to be a year where Kansas State was supposed to win the Big 12, and they're sitting there at 4-4. But for this week, just a quarterback matchup, I'll go Avery Johnson.
And they've won 3 of 4. Their only loss, a 1-point loss to Baylor at Baylor. So K-State is kind of turning on 12 touchdowns total and 1 pick over his last 4 games for Avery Johnson. So maybe they're finally living up to what we expected them to be. Let's go over to the SEC. We got Lenore Sellers, South Carolina, heading over to Ole Miss to take on Trinidad Chambliss and the Rebels.
Yeah, I'm down on Sellers this year. I wonder how it's going to impact his draft stock. I'm going Trinidad Chambliss. One of the best stories in college football. I believe this is his final year of eligibility. I know that's been misreported, I think, in some places. But Trinidad Chambliss, he was supposed to be at Temple this year. It was time to be Temple and then maybe go back up at Ole Miss, and now he's the man at Ole Miss. Give me Trinidad Chambliss.
All right, we got John Mateer at Oklahoma, number 18 in the country, traveling to Tennessee to take on the 14 Vols and Joey Aguilar.
This is the toughest one I think you're going to ask me.
This one or the next one, I think?
I think it's this one. The next one's tough, too. Don't get me wrong. But I'm good. I think it's a toss-up here. I'm going Aguilar. I know they didn't win that game up against Georgia, but I love the way that he played in that game. Mateer, before he had the injury, a lot of people thought he'd go win the Heisman Trophy. I still think Tennessee doesn't get enough respect, and I don't think Oklahoma's going to make the college football playoff this year, so I'm going to go Aguilar.
All right, so the next one, we talked about it. You talked about Dylan Raiola earlier. They take on USC and Jaden Mayava.
I'm going to have to go with Mayava. And
interesting.
Well, it's not me saying that Nebraska isn't going to win the game, but I think Nebraska is going to play a more physical brand of football, and they're going to try to run it a lot, and they made that a point of emphasis last week. And Emmett Johnson's been having such a good year. Mayava, I think, even though Raiola has to have a huge week, and I'm not, and he needs to go win this game, and there's a lot of pressure on him to go win this game. He doesn't have to be the sole reason why they win this game. He just can't be the reason why they lose the game. Mayava, to me, if USC is going to win this game on the road to Nebraska, he's going to have to be the sole reason why they win it. So I'm going to go with Jada Mayava for this week.
All right, let's look at the Big 12. You got Brendan Sorsby and Devin Dampier and that is Cincinnati going up against Utah.
Sorsby's having a heck of a season. I'm going to go with Dampier, though.
Interesting.
Next one.
All right, I'm going to go with Cade Klubnik. If he is supposed to play, there's still questions, but it looks like he's trending in that direction with Clemson, going up against Duke and Darian Mensah.
I'm actually going to take Darian Mensah in this one. I like what he's been able to do. Obviously, he was at Tulane last year. Klubnik, I've just been so out on. And Dampier is just an efficient quarterback, and he doesn't turn over the football much. So I think I could trust him more. Mensah, excuse me. Did I say Dampier? I meant Mensah. He doesn't turn over the football much. So I'll take Darian Mensah right there.
And I got one more that I added on late. We were talking about Carson Beck earlier and Miami. They're going up against SMU, who's kind of been under the radar. But Kevin Jennings was great last year for the Mustangs as they won the ACC regular season and lost in the championship game, one and done in the playoffs. But Carson Beck or Kevin Jennings?
I'm going to go Beck. I just think he's going to bounce back, and I think you'll get more of a version of him that you saw earlier in the year in Miami. You know what? I got to change one here. I said Dampier over Sorsby. I got to go Sorsby. That was bad by me. Dude's got 20 touchdowns and 1 interception, 425 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. I just remember seeing him early in the year up against Nebraska and then lose that game, and I just wasn't impressed by the offense. But since, that dude's just been humming. And I like Dampier so damn much, too. And they're similar. But just the way that Sorsby recently has been playing he hasn't had an interception since. Only 1 interception since Nebraska. And you look at Devin Dampier, he had that 1 pick up against BYU. He had 2 picks up against Texas Tech. Yeah, I got to go Sorsby right now. That's one that I get a retraction. So that was my one retraction on that one.
A mulligan, we'll call it.
Yeah, a breakfast ball. When I play golf, I serve breakfast all day. That's what I always tell my friends, even if it's at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. If I remember, Nico, you were big on Sorsby to start off the season.
Yeah, I was. I think that Cincinnati is a very, 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 very underrated team in the Big 12 this year. I honestly like them to win the conference.
Yeah. The ACC and the Big 12, that's what we're going to see for the foreseeable future. It's almost whoever is the team that everyone picks before you should just fade them because they have depth. I don't think neither of those conferences go win a national championship, but they do have a lot of depth, and it's kind of 6-7 teams that are going to beat up on one another, and to find out who's going to be at the finish line at the end of the year is almost so unpredictable. All righty, we'll take a timeout. We'll come on back. We will get to the quest of one Lamar Jackson when we come on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. . 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute, 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 30 seconds remaining 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. So tonight we do have Week 9 kicking off for the NFL season, and it does feature a matchup between the Baltimore Ravens at the Miami Dolphins. The Baltimore Ravens did get a victory last week up against the Chicago Bears, which a lot of people did not expect, especially with Snoop Huntley in at quarterback. But give credit to Snoop Huntley. And the Miami Dolphins also blew out the Atlanta Falcons, which is something we didn't expect either. With that being said, though, Kirk Cousins was at quarterback. And nothing would surprise me tonight. Like, if you tell me that the Miami Dolphins win this game, wouldn't be surprised. Tell me the Baltimore Ravens win this game, I wouldn't be surprised. But there is no more margin of error for the Baltimore Ravens. Like, I can't see the Dolphins. Here's the hot take of the day. I can't see the Dolphins going on a run and being in the mix in the final 3 weeks of the season to get themselves back into the playoffs. But you look at the Ravens, defense has been banged up. No Lamar. Henry fumbled away 2 games earlier in the season up against the Bills and up against the Lions. And you look at Baltimore now after they started the season, Buffalo, Cleveland, Detroit, Cincinnati, Houston, the Rams, and the Bears. They get into what is a soft spot of the schedule where none of these games, because of the hole that the Ravens have dug themselves into, can I say, hey, they're definitely going to win, right? Like, they are a guarantee lock to win. and they go up against some rancid opponents. But there's not a game on their schedule for the next 6-7 weeks that I say they'll definitely lose. Like they play Miami tonight. Then they're at Minnesota. Then they're at Cleveland. Then they play the Jets. Then they play the Bengals. Then they play the Steelers. And then they're at the Bengals again. These next 7 weeks, bare minimum, where you're sitting there at 2-5, you almost got to go 6-1. And if you go 6-1, you're then going to be sitting there at 8-6. Now, could they go 5-2 in the next 7? Yeah, I guess they can. And if they go 5-2, then they'll be sitting there at 7-7. Yeah, they got to go. They got to go bare minimum 5-2. Not that 5-2 and you're sitting there at 7-7 going into the final 3 weeks of the season guarantees you anything. But if you are 9-8 in the AFC, I don't think you're making the playoffs. And probably 9-8 is not going to win that division. So you're going to have to get to 10-7. And the final 3 weeks of the season, the schedule, it's New England, it's at Green Bay, and it's at Pittsburgh. So that's not easy. That's why I kind of leaned originally 6-1. But I'm curious here, Nico. If I just give you the matchups in their next 7, what do you project their schedule, their record to be? At Miami tonight.
Win.
At Minnesota next week.
Loss.
Okay. At Cleveland.
Win.
The Jets.
Win.
Cincinnati.
Home against Cincinnati?
Mm-hmm.
Win.
Pittsburgh.
Loss.
At Cincinnati.
Loss.
Okay, so you only give them 4 wins there. So you only give them 4 wins right there. That gets to a line where you're not feeling all that good about making the playoffs. Now, Samter, let me do the same exercise with you. Ravens at Miami.
W.
Ravens at Minnesota.
W.
Ooh, wow. What's up with the way you're saying W?
I don't know.
You're like George W. Bush.
It's a little Jeff Landry rubbing off on me. A little Southern.
Okay.
W. Tiger family.
When Landry speaks, he sounds like his tongue is stapled shut. Like just stapled down. That's how I keep on hearing.
I understand what you're saying.
Like when I do the impression, when I try to impersonate him earlier, I almost had to speak with my tongue just like really, really down. You know, you can't have it like hit in the roof of your mouth or anything like that. So you have 2 wins here. At Cleveland.
Win.
Jets.
Win.
Oh, my God. Cincinnati.
Win.
Pittsburgh.
That's home against Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar's healthy. Win.
And then at Cincinnati?
I'm assuming Burrow's still not back by the 14th of December. Win.
So you have him going 7-0 here.
I mean,
you did.
Yeah, but they have 3 road games against the Dolphins.
That would put them at 9 wins.
Yeah.
9 wins.
I mean, maybe just because who wins 7 in a row? It would be 8 in a row
because they won last week. They beat Chicago.
But I don't see them losing to any of these teams. Their defense has started to pick things up a little bit more. They held the Rams to 17. They held the Bears to 16. Miami's terrible. The Vikings, I know we like J.J. McCarthy, but he hasn't been good when he's been
hold on. I like J.J. McCarthy at college. He's done nothing in the NFL.
That's my point, right? Cleveland is a mess. The Jets are the Jets. The Bengals, their defense is a joke. And if Flacco is hurt, are you really going with Jake Browning the rest of the year? And the only game that I see them potentially losing is at home against the Steelers, but that's at home against the Steelers. And if they're riding a 6-game win streak, a 5-game win streak at that point, they're favored in that game, so I think they win it.
They don't get the benefit of the doubt to go win all 7 of these next games. But I will say this. Early in the week, if you just asked me without looking at the schedule, Zach, do you think the Ravens go on a run? I would say no. But now you get Lamar Jackson back. As long as they get this one tonight, and then you look at the current state of their division, they could still make the postseason. I'm not saying I'm expecting it. And in big spots, when things get tight this year, they have fumbled away the ball and they have not shown an inclination to win those games. But that win last week at least finds a way for a week to give you hope. And if they lose to Miami tonight, then it's kind of, all right, you're sitting there at 2-6, even though you could still maybe go on a run and only lose another game in the next 7. You're not going to feel all that optimistic, and people's tune is going to drastically change. But you look at this division, right? There's no way anyone could see the Browns winning this division. The defense is really damn good, but the offense sucks. The Bengals are 3-5. Flacco's 50-50 to play. And even if he does play, the offensive line is terrible. And the defense is terrible. So this division is going to be won by either the Ravens or the Steelers. The question just becomes, with the Steelers' defense being very disappointing, there being no number 2 wide receiver there, is the Steelers' lead right now, with them being 4-3 and the Ravens being 2-5, enough of a head start where even if they're limping to the finish line, they'll get to the finish line and cross the finish line? Like, Nico, I'll ask you this. So, Samter, what do you think your record's going to be for the Ravens this year? You had them winning these 8 in a row, so 7 straight. So that would put them at 9. What do you think they're going to finish their record with?
The last 3 games are pretty brutal.
Yeah,
it's at the Steelers, home against the Pats, at the Packers. So let's say they do win these 7. Most likely, I say 6-1, but I think they should win all 7. Mm-hmm. That's 7-5. Let's go with. You
think there'd be 9 or 10 wins? What you're saying?
I think 9 and 8.
Okay,
9 and 8 for sure is my guess, but they could definitely be 10 and 7.
And Nico, you were more critical on this stretch. You only gave them 4 extra wins, so that would put them at 6 wins entering the final 3 weeks of the season. How many wins are you going to put the Ravens at?
Yeah, I could see them getting 7, maybe 8. I guess you could say it was a little too harsh on them when it came to the Bengals games. Like, if Burrow's not back.
So you're thinking pretty much
7,
Apex
maybe
is
8.
8. Samter's thinking probably they're going to get 9, is what it sounds like. So the Steelers already have 4 wins. Steelers play the Colts this week, Nico. What do you have?
Colts.
Then the Steelers are at the Chargers.
Chargers.
Steelers then play the Bengals.
Steelers.
Okay. Steelers at the Bears.
Steelers.
Steelers and the Bills.
Bills.
Steelers at the Ravens.
Ravens.
Okay. Steelers and the Dolphins.
Steelers.
Steelers at the Lions.
Lions.
Steelers at Cleveland.
Steelers.
Okay. Steelers, Ravens to end the year.
Steelers.
Okay, so that would get them 5 more wins, if I counted that correctly. So that puts them at 9. So that's not a great wiggle room right there. Steelers' schedule is tough here. All right, Santa, real quickly. Steelers, Colts.
Colts.
Steelers at the Chargers.
Chargers.
Steelers, Bengals.
Steelers.
Steelers at the Bears. The Bears.
The Bears are like Jekyll and Hyde. It depends on which Bears we see, but let's go Steelers.
Steelers, Buffalo.
Bills.
Steelers at the Ravens.
Ravens.
Steelers, Miami.
Steelers.
Steelers at the Lions.
Lions.
Steelers at the Brownies.
Browns.
Steelers and the Ravens.
I think that this game is going to be whoever wins this game wins the division and makes the playoff, and the other one doesn't. Mm-hmm. Who do I trust more in a big game, Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson? I'm taking Lamar all day, every day. In a vacuum, Steelers at home, I take it. Last game of the season with the division on the line, Ravens.
Okay, so you'd have them at 8 wins. Could they get to 9? Yeah, but it's not. The Ravens' schedule is easier. And if the Ravens could go 5-2 or 6-1 in their next 7, it sets them up to win that division. All right, we'll come on back with the news brief. Michael Brockers, former LSU player, obviously did play in the NFL with the Rams and the Lions, is going to join us coming up at the top of the hour at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time. But let's get that update in first with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance, who protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Week 9 of the NFL season kicks off tonight in Miami, where the 2-6 Dolphins host the 2-5 Ravens. Miami has had a rough start, but showed a different side in Sunday's win in Atlanta, punishing the Falcons with a more physical approach. Head coach Mike McDaniel trying to get everyone involved.
Getting everybody involved is important, giving them the opportunity to take more of a share, depending on how guys are playing.
The Ravens are 2-5, and welcome back Lamar Jackson. All not lost for Baltimore with the next 5 opponents, a combined 11-28. Matt Rule is in the middle of another good turnaround with Nebraska at 6-2. He gets a 2-year extension that ends speculation that he might be an option at his alma mater, Penn State. The Nationals are reportedly close to hiring 33-year-old Blake Butera as their new manager. The defending champs haven't missed a beat so far in the NBA, rolling off 5 straight wins to open the season. And the Thunder will host the Wizards tonight, while the Spurs are 4-0 and take on the Heat in San Antonio. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. It's time to update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. Let's get to a news brief. We do so right now.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam, just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com, not available in all states. We were just talking about maybe the Ravens turning their season around with the easy schedule that they perceivably do have. Here is Lamar Jackson on if they could turn their season around.
I got a great group of guys on my team, good staff, man. I feel like we always got a chance to make something happen. And we still do. We showed that Sunday.
J.J. McCarthy going to be back for the Minnesota Vikings. Let's hear from J.J. McCarthy as he gets set to go up against the Detroit Lions. This is J.J. on missing so much time.
Everything in my past, how I went about things, it was always like if I felt, 10%, 15%, I was going to go out there and give it my all. But understanding, how this league works and, how everything operates, I was just listening, to my trainers and Coach O'Connell and, obeying orders at the end of the day. But I think it was the smartest thing possible, and I feel great.
Then we get to Carson Wentz. He's going to be out for the season. And everyone's saying, well, why did the Vikings play him last week if he had a significant shoulder injury? This is Carson Wentz on playing through a bad injury.
The whole time I felt I can still help this team. At the end of the day, I knew what I was signing up for. It wasn't like anyone was forcing me to go. I mean, this is my 10th year in the league. There's a lot bigger things in my life to worry about, so I wasn't going to do anything that would be detrimental to my own health. So I knew what I was getting into and knew there was a chance I'd be playing with some pain and discomfort the other night, and I'd be lying if I thought it'd be a little less than what it was. But at the end of the day, it's pain, and I felt like, okay, the hit happened, and then I could go on and I could still help the team.
Here's the thing. The medical staff is supposed to treat everybody equally. But if he is cleared to play, there are, a star player maybe be like, oh, you hold him out for a week or something. Oh, you don't put him back in the game. When it comes to a guy like Carson Wentz, whose career is already on life support, he almost got to suck it up and play to just try to continue your career. Now, he's done for the season. I get that. But was he, even if he got through last week healthy, was he going to be the quarterback this week? Probably not, with J.J. McCarthy now ready to come on back. But also, I still question the Vikings a little bit. You tell me J.J. couldn't play the other week? It just, something seems all funky right there, if you ask me. Believe in Giants podcast. Giants legend Carl Banks hosts it with Bob Papa. And Carl Banks laid into Dexter Lawrence. Let's hear from the man that they call Killer.
Dexter Lawrence, nobody respects you anymore. Nobody. Your opponents do not. The pre-injury Dexter is not there in their heads. They don't respect you. And there's a difference. You're on the field. They're blocking you with a 9-year backup center. You're not making a difference. The old Dexter would. okay? I'm looking at enough tape to know that your opponents don't respect you. Not like they used to. And here's the thing. When Darius Alexander, when Roy Robinson gets in the game and they substitute for you, DJ Davison, those guys are making plays against the same guys that are blocking you. It's time for you to start expecting more of yourself. I don't know if you're injured. I don't know if you've fully recovered, but it's time to start asking more of yourself because they don't respect you.
Carl Banks isn't someone that is going out of his way to be critical of Giants players. There was actually a huge feud down the hall when BT and Sal got into it with Carl over BT and Sal's analysis over Kayvon Thibodeau. So it takes a lot, I think, for Carl to be that critical and that blunt about it. And Dexter Lawrence is perceived to be one of the best defenders in the NFL, but he's not having a good season. It's a half a sack this year. So for Carl to say that, it's either done because of two things. One, that's just his honest opinion. Or two, maybe he's exaggerating a little bit to kind of be like, dude, wake up and spell the coffee. I expect better out of you. Let's hear how Dexter Lawrence responded. This is Dexter Lawrence on Carl Banks' comments.
I don't really know what he's watching. But hey, he can say what he wants. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, trying to help us get a win. That's it.
Do you disagree with what he said? Is it fair to say that you disagree with his opinion?
For sure.
Are you satisfied with how you're playing?
I think I'm playing well, yes.
Dex, there's criticisms that you can put on a player. That one's a pretty significant one to say that no one respects you. So how do you process it?
I hope they start not respecting me because that's not what's showing on the field. It's showing a lot of respect on the field.
Were you surprised that Carl chose to air those criticisms of your game the way that he did on the podcast as opposed to coming in here or seeking out in the building to talk to you?
Yeah, those are strong words, but that's how you feel.
Those words mean more that they're coming from him,
No.
like a Giant legend? No? Why not?
He's delusional. No.
Oh, boy. Just what the Giants need. Just what the Giants need. A franchise legend and one of their better players going at one another. What a mess. Shedeur Sanders, Browns on a bye week, Colorado playing, it's homecoming. Are you going to go back to Colorado this week?
Am I coming to see you homecoming? Nah, I'm not coming to see you homecoming. I can't make it out there.
In the Ring of Honor, though.
I wish I could, though, but it just can't happen. I got treatment out here. I can't be, I got to get ready. Big ready.
Ready for what? You're not playing. It's because your dad's team right now is 3-5, and they just got smacked by Utah 53-7. By the way, talking about your dad, Coach Prime. Here is Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, on the recent coaching firings.
Well, there's no one patience in this world. How do we exude patience when we could call up right now and get a pizza delivery right here? Everything is expeditious in this country. Everyone wants the quick fix, the quick things. You got mail order brides too, right? You get married, right away. You could get a BBL. You could come in here flat as I don't know what, and leave thick as a Snicker. So this is a different country that we live in, man. Ain't nobody got no patience no more. I understand that, and I don't either. I don't have patience as well. I want things done right now because I'm used to getting up there working, putting in the work, and you want that result from the work you put in. It don't oftentimes work like that.
Only Coach Prime. By the way, even though it's not a BBL, obviously, did you see Andrew Filipponi got his nipples pierced last night? Yeah, the Pony Express said he would get his nipples pierced if the Steelers lost to, was it the Bengals? Yeah, I think it was the Bengals. And he got both of his nipples pierced last night. Oy. Let's go to Ed Orgeron. Go Tigers. He was on Unsportsmanlike on ESPN. Ed Orgeron was asked if he was interested in returning to LSU.
Do you want to be the next LSU head coach?
Oh, I'd love to. You kidding me? I'm one phone call away. I just gotta get in my truck. I'll be back. I could be there today.
If someone specifically became the head coach, would you be willing to be his assistant? And that someone is someone you've been close with and worked with, Lane Kiffin. Would you ever go back to be an assistant at LSU?
Yeah, I'd consider it. I love LSU. I still got my home in Baton Rouge. I love when I coached with Coach Miles, being the defensive line coach. I love the Tigers, and I'm getting back to coaching. For sure, I consider it, no doubt.
I wonder if Ed Orgeron's going to get a head coaching job this cycle. He's not going to be the head coach of LSU, but there's so many jobs open. Can he get one of these smaller jobs, or are they going to make him be an assistant? Let's go to Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana. Will the LSU AD hire the next coach?
No. I can tell you right now, Scott Woodward is not selecting the next coach. Hell, I'll let Donald Trump select it before I let him do it. I don't know, but the Board of Supervisors is going to come up with a committee, and they're going to go find us a coach.
And
hold on. One real quick thing on that. Because here's what y'all reporters need to do. Y'all need to start looking at who represents all these people. Like these agents. You know what's interesting? If I'm not mistaken, Woodward's agent, Kelly's agent, the Texas A&M, they're all the same agent.
Not true.
Like, you realize if I would be, I don't know how many sports writers we got here today? Just you. We should have a bunch. Okay? Like, this is ridiculous. Lawyers would be disbarred for the way these agents act and the way they're able to represent. In fact, there's no doubt, they may even represent some of the players now. Like, it's really time for the NCAA to put on some guardrails in college sports. Because, and it's fine. We don't need the guardrails. If big billionaires want to spend all that kind of money, no problem. But if I got to go find $53 million from Kemp, it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. I'm just telling you.
I'm just telling you. All righty, let's go to Bill Belichick and the reports about issues at UNC regarding him.
Wherever that story came from, obviously, it's already been taken down and everything else, but it's just total, as Trump would say, fake news. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just a novel. Mike Lombardi and I came in and started hiring people and come into the organization in December. We got here the same day. We've been doing it every day, and
we've been doing it every day.
That's the way it's going to be. So
that's the way it's going to be.
I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there that want to get clicks and views and posts on my face or whatever.
Like your girlfriend.
But it's just a bunch of garbage.
That's awesome. Did you hear that? He said my face.
Yeah, he always does that. Insta-face. All that
okay.
Stuff. And finally, let's hear from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. being 1 win away from winning the World Series on that Insta-face, my face stuff.
I mean, it's good, but like I always say, the job's not finished, it's one game at a time, we're winning today, we back home and trying to win it all at home.
What a story he's been. What a story the Blue Jays have won after losing that Game 3 to win games 4 and 5 in L.A. Unbelievable. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Big fan, Bill Belichick here. Big fan of Zach. When we come on back, Michael Brockers. He played at LSU. Also, you may have saw him on that Insta Talk. And he was also a football player in the National Football League for the Rams and the Lions, and he's going to join the Zach Gelb Show next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond. He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, hour number 3 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. Michael Brockers started at LSU, then did get drafted by the Rams in the first round, and wrapped up his football career with the Detroit Lions. And a lot going on in the sports world with the Rams and the Lions, but more importantly, what's going on down in Baton Rouge with LSU after Brian Kelly was dismissed from the Tiger family. So now joining us is Michael Brockers. Michael, always great to have you on. Appreciate the time. How you been?
Man, I've been well. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. So let me start you off with Brian Kelly, the dismissal. You kind of got a sense that it wasn't working, but we were wondering if he was going to get let go. They got blown out by A&M. They had the whole meeting, and then he sent packing. When you look back at the Brian Kelly tenure, just as someone that is a proud former player at LSU, just what really annoys you or agitates you with the Brian Kelly era?
I really wasn't a true fan when they first hired him. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I didn't think his coaching style and his demeanor and things of that nature really fit the LSU culture. So when he was hired, I was kind of like skeptical already. Like, I don't know, coming from Notre Dame, coming down south to Baton Rouge, it's a different culture here than it is in Notre Dame or anywhere else. So you definitely have to bring it. You have to you don't really have to sell the school, but you have to sell yourself as to what you can get done. And I was, like I said, I was kind of skeptical when we first hired him. I was hoping it was going to work. I think I was just talking to one of my good buddies. I said the biggest thing that kept him on is really in his first year when they beat Bama in LSU. I think that was like, okay, everybody kind of took a deep breath and was like, okay, he managed to beat Bama. He might turn out pretty well. And then he continues to lose those big games, and it's like now people kind of like, I don't know. So, the Texas A&M loss, I just think was the cherry on top. You have all the former players coming up. Talking to our ex head strength coach Tommy Moffitt, who is now at Texas A&M, and building that program up, and now they're 7-0. They're dominating teams in a fashion that we recall. So, I just think that was the cherry on top, and they were, ready to move on to somebody else.
And let's be real, a coach could come on in there in college and do whatever he wants, but with how long Moffitt was there and the success that he had winning 3 national championships, that's when I wonder if you shot Brian Kelly up with some true serum and said, would you wish you had that one back and just continue with Moffitt, if he actually would say, yeah, I made a mistake on that one?
I mean, if that's the first thing you do is knowing that the common denominator of all these teams and that had different coaches were winning still, and the common denominator was the strength coach, like, why would you get rid of that? That's how I looked at it. And a lot of, my former teammates as well looked at it like, why would you get rid of like the one thing that was consistent through all these championship years, all these good teams? The one thing that stayed consistent through that was having Tommy Moffitt a part of that staff, and you get rid of him first. And that just didn't make sense to us.
Yeah, and now the seesaw ride, too, where early on in the tenure, the offense is humming. Jaden Daniels, right, wins a Heisman Trophy. You got Malik Neighbors. You got all these studs. And the LSU offense, right, they would step on the seesaw and they would go all the way up in the air because the defense was so bad. And now this year, the defense is playing better. And Garrett Nussmeier has just been such an enigma. I don't know what the heck has happened to him in the last year. So there was never a balance under Brian Kelly where, okay, if the offense is going to be superstars, just get the defense to be serviceable. And the defense starts to get going and the offense just plummets.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm being honest with you. LSU has always been, besides that one particular year, obviously with Jaden Daniels, then you had the Joe Burrow year. We were always a defensive, type of team. We were always defensive led. That's why we had a bunch of guys go in, high rounds and, on our defense, is because we were a defensive led team. Not saying our offense, wasn't highly powered, but, they almost, seemed to lean on the defense heavily. Hey, the defense will stop. All we need is, 17 to 20 points, we'll get this thing won. So we didn't rely on the offense as much, especially during my years. But, I just felt like LSU has always been a defensive-led team, besides the other 2 years where you have your Heisman Trophy winners. And I think that's what made it so special, because we were a team that, like I said, highly defense, and then you go out here and we put up the numbers that we have. You have to give those guys the reward, right?
Following it now, and obviously you want your school to make the right next hire and get back to where they should be, a program that since 2000 had 3 different head coaches win national championships, as Michael Brockers is here with us. The last 24 hours, in terms of what I do, just as a radio host, and I never think, right, when politicians get involved in the sports world, usually it doesn't end well. But what the governor's doing and Jeff Landry right now, man, this has turned into a spectacle and a circus to start off this coaching search.
Yeah, man, when you have, a politician telling you that the AD can't hire anybody, it's kind of, you like, what's going on here? Like, what's really going on? I mean, I really don't have anything to say about that. I just want them to pick the right person for the job. I mean, at the end of the day, are we picking the right person that's going to change this culture of the team? really bring the culture back to this team where we're strong, we're physical. You know you're gonna have a hard fought game when you face LSU. And that's pretty much what the players want to see, especially a lot of the guys I talk to. We just want that culture back in the building, in the facility where, you know, it's hard work. Hard work, you know, pays off. And that's what one of my teammates says is, you know, hard work pays off, and that's what we should be built on.
Yeah, I don't know if you have a relationship or not with the current AD. Clearly, the governor doesn't think he should be making the hire. I know they still have to hire a president as they're down to their 4 finalists. Do you think Scott Woodward should be making this next hire, or not so much?
I mean, I can't really say anything to that, man. All I ask is that they pick the right guy, like make it make sense for the organization, for the school, for the players. Like, just make it make sense. I can't really speak to who should hire who, but it should definitely make sense for the school to have a solid coach that can get the job done at the end of the day.
So let me ask you this, because you have a fascinating perspective, and you're a former player there. You love that school. You want to see that school do well. Let's say if Scott hits you up tonight and says, Michael, like, give me a name or two that you think we should be interested in for the next head football coach. Who would a name or two be for the next LSU Tigers head coach?
It's funny you say that, because I just recently watched a clip of one of my former teammates who's doing an awesome job right now with the Lions. Is a guy that's been going around, Kelvin Shepherd. You know, he's a I wouldn't say a candidate, because I know how he is. He's focused on the task at hand. He's leading this Lions team. You know, he wants to lead them to a championship. But if there ever was a perfect day, a perfect, you know, atmosphere where they can hire a guy, I would definitely put his name in there, because I definitely feel like he's a leader of men. I mean, that's what you want. You want somebody that can lead men, that can get them pumped up to play the game. And also, he's an ex-player, so he understands. He understands, you know, who's really ready to play and who's not. You know, who's mentally ready to play and who's not. So for me, I would definitely want somebody that, you know, played the game. I played with, you know, biasly I played with, and I seen how he coached and things like that. So I would definitely, if I had to pick, I would definitely throw his name in that hat for sure.
Yeah, and I love his energy right now with the Lions, because that was like a big concern heading into this year. All right, Ben Johnson no longer there with the Lions. Aaron Glenn no longer there with the Lions. And, you know, I've been impressed with what the Lions been able to do on the defensive side of the ball this season so far.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially, what was that, a couple of nights ago, they had 3 or 4 players go down, and they still, you know, stopped one of the top teams in the NFC in Tampa Bay. And, you know, it was just like a next man up philosophy, and they all went out there and made plays. So when you got a guy like that can throw anybody in there and make them feel good, make them feel comfortable in what they're doing, you know he's a guy that's a leader. Like I said, leader of men, and he can get the most out of his players.
Let's say if he wants to stay in the NFL, doesn't want to deal with the college stuff. Lane Kiffin's a name that keeps on popping up. That just seems like a match made in heaven, right? Lane Kiffin going to LSU?
I mean, it does. It does. I mean, you know, he can get the recruits. I mean, I don't really know a lot about Ole Miss, but, you know, LSU, we get the recruit just off our brand in itself. So you wouldn't have to, you know, sell the school a lot. And, you know, he doesn't have to sell himself as well. You know, he's Lane Kiffin. He can possibly get it done.
When you talk about the standard, right, I know what LSU football is about. We've seen them win at the highest level. But with where the program has been right now, there's some schools, right, once you get away and you have a down stretch, then we start saying, oh, are they going to be back? Are they going to be back? Are they going to be back? And the pressure just intensifies. For whoever the new coach is, just what do you want to see them get LSU back to? What needs to be the culture to have success at LSU, in your opinion?
It's like I said before, it's a culture built off hard work. There's no easy road to this thing. The SEC is a gauntlet. I mean, we all know that. It is a gauntlet of a division to play in. Every week you're going against a top 20 opponent, or a top opponent in the collegiate space. So for me, it's all about building your team in order to last and have endurance to withstand some of these games, because it's not going to be they're all going to be close games. SEC games, it's not, with Texas A&M having 40 points and scoring 40 points on LSU, that's like an anomaly in the SEC. You don't really see a lot of high-scoring games and things of that nature, man. They're low-scoring games, defensive games where you see a lot of big hits, a lot of guys flying around to the ball, and it just whoever makes the less amount of mistakes, that's the team that usually wins the game.
Wrap it up with Michael Brockers. What was it like? I think you had a year right with Dan Campbell when you got to Detroit. What was it like playing for him?
Kind of reminded me of college, not in the sense of that, how hard we worked, but just, the camaraderie with the team. I think, he's very personable as far as a coach that has played this game at a high level. He understands us as players, and he understands a lot of the BS that comes with it. He understands the off the field issues, the off the field distractions that usually come up when you're a player. And, he gives you, he grounds you, he grounds you as far as like, let's focus on one thing at a time. Let's do what we always do. And he talks about grit. And I think that's what his teams are all built off of, grit. None of these games are going to be easy. We have to be strong enough to survive. And I think ultimately that's the kind of culture that you want. And I would like at LSU, where it's like, it's a gritty team. It's a team that's going to fight you to the end. And you never know when we're going to come up on top.
And then, this, right? A guy like Aiden Hutchinson comes in, second overall pick. Obviously, his ties to Michigan, it's either going to go in a great way or a horrible way. Clearly, it's gone in a great way, and he just got rewarded with the contract. What stood out to you early on being around Aiden Hutchinson?
True professional. He comes in, he does everything the right way. He's been doing it the right way since he was a rookie. It surprised me a lot to see where he was mentally, as far as like how he took the seriousness he took the game, how he takes care of his body, things of that nature at such a young age. Because you get into the league, you kind of almost get starstruck. You're around all these different guys. Now you're getting money you've never seen before. But for me, seeing a guy that kind of had his head down, he was ready to work, he's ready to do everything he had to do to really show why this team drafted him so high. And he goes out there and shows it every day at practice, and he shows it in the game. So I was amazed at his mindset coming in as a rookie, and I think he's definitely well deserved for that contract.
Now they've been knocking on the door, right? The last 2 years, NFC Championship game. Then last year they lose in the divisional round, but they were the number 1 seed. You've played with Jared Goff, obviously, in both Detroit and then also LA. Do you feel like Goff is the guy that could give Detroit their first Super Bowl victory?
Man, if it's no mistake, you have to play mistake-free football, and that's on every level. These games, you say it's kind of cliche, but they're any given Sunday. If you go out there and you don't have your A game ready, you can be beat by anybody in this league. So it has to be a mistake-free football, really managing the game. He doesn't have to, go out there and, win a game with his arm and throw for 400, 500 yards. Man, let's manage this game, take what the defense gives you, and, lean on your defense. Your defense has been playing phenomenal this year. Take what the defense gives you. And at the end of the day, man, score some points, but you just don't think you have to do everything yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing for him is, knowing that he has a surrounding cast around him and the players he has on his offense and also the defense he has. So for me, you play mistake-free football, you can make it a long way in this league.
Now, obviously, you've been around Sean McVay. He's one of the best coaches in football. When he first got into that organization, being the same age as the players, just how was that dynamic? What do you remember the first time meeting Sean McVay? You probably thought oh, who's this ball boy? Oh, he's the head coach, right?
Right. No, for sure. Definitely got a high respect for him, coming in the way he did, because, a lot of, guys come in and it's like their way or the highway. I love his philosophy of we, not me. I think that's something that just stuck with me just for life is, you have a team of people a group of people, group of men, whoever, and everybody's accountable to each other. He's accountable to us. We're accountable to him. He holds that standard very high for himself and the team, and I think it translated throughout the building. It translated through, to the training staff, to the strength and conditioning staff, to the people in the kitchen. Like, everybody feels that energy. Everybody wants to be their best for the team, because if they feel like if they give their best at whatever they're doing, that they're helping this team win. So for me, I love his energy, and I love the way he made everybody accountable to one another.
And then before we let you run, last thing, Michael Brockers, just being a teammate of Aaron Donald, there's so much that you could probably take from him, but give me your favorite AD story.
Oh, man, I don't know. Like, what should I talk about? The training camp fights, or just some things I witnessed,
But whatever you think. Hey, training camp fight sounds good to me, right?
Oh my God, it's so much, man. The fact that I just witnessed greatness, and I seen what he gave the sport, what he put into it. He always talks about hard work pays off, and that's who I was mentioning earlier in the show, where he definitely, like I said, gave it his all. He was in the off season. It was I got a story about him after our Super Bowl loss. We were usually guys take a month off or whatever from football, just kind of relax, kind of decompress. And I called him like 2 weeks after the game, and I'm like, man, what you got going? I just want to talk to, just catch up with him. And he was like, man, I'm working out. I'm like, working out? We're working out for what? Like, what you got going? He's like, I'm working out for the season. And he's like, man, you got to be strong to withstand this long season and things like that. And that just inspired me. I was like, man, I got one of the, I'm playing with one of the best defensive linemen that ever played this game. And he's willing to go, take a week or two off, and he's back in the gym. Like, who am I to not give that same effort? So just by him working as hard as he led by example. And that forced me to be like, you know what, let me get off the couch and let me start working too. If he's out there working, I need to be working out too. So for me, man, he just inspired me in those ways.
I probably would have been on vacation with a drink in a hand, if I'm being honest, right?
Right.
He's Michael Brockers. Hey, Mike, it was great to get you back on. Thanks so much for giving us the perspective and the insight today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Always love catching up with Michael Brockers on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a time out. When we come on back, you will hear from Dan Lanning about some potential rumors about maybe him leaving Oregon, and we'll see if we're by what he is selling. Plus, Matt Rule did get an extension. So what is next up for Penn State? Where do they go from here? With Signetti saying thanks but no thanks, and Matt Rule saying thanks but no thanks as well.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
I'm just going to give you a perspective on maybe the damage that Governor Jeff Landry has already done. We'll play it one more time just because I love hearing this guy's voice with the Cajun accent. I really do. But this is Jeff Landry on all the stuff about will the LSU AD hire the next head football coach. Go ahead.
No. I can tell you right now, Scott Woodward is not selecting the next coach. Hell, I'll let Donald Trump select it before I let him do it. I don't know, but the Board of Supervisors is going to come up with a committee, and they're going to go find us a coach. Hold on. One real quick thing on that. Because here's what y'all reporters need to do. Y'all need to start looking at who represents all these people. Like these agents. You know what's interesting? If I'm not mistaken, Woodward's agent, Kelly's agent, the Texas A&M, they're all the same agent. Like you realize if I would be, I don't know how many sports writers we got here today? Just you. We should have a bunch. Okay? Like, this is ridiculous. Lawyers would be disbarred for the way these agents act and the way they're able to represent. In fact, there's no doubt, they may even represent some of the players now. Like, it's really time for the NCAA to put on some guardrails in college sports. Because, and it's fine. We don't need the guardrails. If big billionaires want to spend all that kind of money, no problem. But if I got to go find $53 million from Kemp, it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. I'm just telling you.
So that was Governor Jeff Landry yesterday. Today, he was on the Pat McAfee show, and he was asked, well, are you going to be the one that hires the next head coach? Listen up.
No. Listen, emphatically, I am not picking the coach. That is not my job. The only reason I'm really involved, Pat, is because this contract that currently is between the state of Louisiana, the Louisiana State University system, and Brian Kelly leaves the taxpayers of the state on the bill. There's misinformation out there. People are saying, oh, no, the taxpayers aren't liable. They're not reading the contract. On Sunday, I had a meeting with the lawyers as they were talking about whether or not Brian Kelly was terminated, whether they were going to fire him. And all I cared about were the taxpayers of our state. And that contract binds the state of Louisiana. If we have to pay $53 million and somebody else doesn't step up to foot that bill, the state of Louisiana has to foot that bill. That is in the contract.
Here's the thing I still don't understand. They clearly got the guarantees from the boosters that they're going to foot the bill. So why do he keeps on bitching about that? You know, down the road, you don't think that those guys, that those rich people, guys and gals, aren't going to pony back up? Of course they are. Because they want to live through the football team. And they get more and more power the more and more money that they spend to help the university out. This was Scott Ballard, by the way, WBRZ News. This was him responding to Governor Jeff Landry's remarks that the LSU Board of Supervisors are going to be the one that are going to be doing the hire, and this is the chair of that board.
Governor Landry announcing today in a press conference that the Board of Supervisors will be heading that up. Do you have any response, any comment at this time?
No, I didn't know that.
Do you have any idea what the next steps might look like?
Next steps are we're going to go hire the best coach for Louisiana State University. I promise you. Go Tigers.
So Peter Burns, who works for the ESPN, he tweeted this out. I'm on record saying that I hope and think Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss and builds a legacy in Oxford. But this week's developments likely ends any chance of Lane to LSU. Here's why, according to Peter Burns. Ripping his agent and saying you aren't going to give out another big contract probably isn't the strongest sales pitch. So I think the agents are a big boy. You know, they're big boys. They could take the public bashing from the governor of Louisiana. The governor right now, let's be real. He's all bark, no bite. This guy's sitting there yapping his mouth and saying, oh, we're not going to give out these big contracts. We need to investigate things. Where 95% of the stuff that he had, he was wrong anyway. He's just yapping and yapping and yapping for political gain. And he's trying to appease a fan base and appease people in his state to basically say, oh, we like this guy because of the fact that Brian Kelly wasn't popular. And there are people that are slamming the AD right now. That's what he's doing. I think people see through it. But he's going to try to talk this big game. Ultimately, when push comes to shove, whatever they hire a new president, if the new president keeps the AD or not, you don't think they're going to give the coach at LSU? I mean, this isn't South Harmon Institute of Technology. This is LSU. You don't think they're going to give him a crazy contract like all the coaches get these crazy contracts with buyouts that are favorable to the coach? Like, for example, I'm familiar with Matt Rule's contract. If Nebraska, up until today with the extension, if Nebraska wanted to fire Matt Rule, I think it was like, don't quote me, but it was like $50 million that they would have to pay him. But if Matt, up until today, wanted to leave, it was only $5 million that he would have to pay them. That's a big difference. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. But you think just because the governor of Louisiana is bitching and complaining that LSU is going to say, hey, Lane Kiffin, we're not going to give you one of these. Then you're not going to get him. You're not. But if you're willing to pay the price, will the agent say, okay, I know you were taking shots at me, so I will sweep those under the rug? Absolutely. So once again, this is all bark, no bite by the governor of Louisiana. Anyway, talking about Matt Rule, he has received, I think it was a 2-year extension, and Matt Rule is going to be staying at Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm not surprised by this decision. I said it from the start, where I understand the connections with Matt Rule and Pat Kraft, and personally, me more than anybody that's doing this job around the country. I know the relationship that Pat Kraft and Matt Rule have because of the fact that I was at Temple when most of you didn't even know who Matt Rule and Pat Kraft were, and I was able to see the way that those two guys worked together and had incredible access to both those guys. But a reason why I thought Matt wasn't going to leave is, A, I know his family loves being in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I was just there last weekend. And I was there even in the first year. And you could tell that they're building something there. And they're building it at his pace. Now, obviously, it's his alma mater. Obviously, it's a school that he loves in Penn State. Obviously, it's his dear friend being the athletic director. So it's not something that you could just totally dismiss. But I've had so many people in the media, outside of the media, college, people just reach out to me because they know that I know the relationship between the two. And they always ask me, do you think Matt was going to leave? And I would say, is it possible? Yes. But in my gut, I always thought that he was going to stay in Nebraska. And now that is solidified today that he's not going to be the next head football coach at Penn State. Now, they have an enormous game coming up on Saturday night for Nebraska standards up against USC. And that's a game that they have to win. But it is nice to see a coach stay there when Nebraska just got to a bowl game and won a bowl game for the first time in forever. And now, with 4 games left in their season, they do have a chance to still make the college football playoff. Like, I know you look at that schedule. They beat Cincinnati week 1 of the season, and that is now aged to be a better victory than what people thought. They lost a close one to Michigan by 3. Disappointing, unacceptable effort up against Minnesota. But now they're sitting there at 6-2. If you have 2 losses or fewer, and they're at 2, you should get into the college football playoff if you're a Big Ten school. And I know, right, strength of schedule and the way that you're going to look at it's all different. But they play USC, UCLA, Penn State, and Iowa. UCLA, they're 3-5. I know they had that nice little run where they beat Penn State, Michigan State, and Maryland. But they just got blown out by Indiana. Then they play Penn State, who we know the struggles of Penn State this year. And Penn State's playing with a backup quarterback because Aller's out for the year. And then Iowa's always a tough game. And Iowa, that would be a dogfight if it's determined who gets in the college football playoff. Because in all likelihood, Iowa's not going to be able to be alive for the college football playoff. They already have 2 losses. They play Oregon, USC, Michigan State, and then Nebraska. So they'll pick up a 3rd loss. But could you imagine if Nebraska beats USC, then they play UCLA, then they play Penn State, win. And then that Friday, I think it's a 12 p.m. Eastern time game. So 11 a.m. Central out there. If they're ended up playing Friday, Black Friday, I'm pretty sure that is, up against Iowa to determine if Nebraska is going to go to the college football playoff or not. That would be something. But we'll see how we're talking about Nebraska after this weekend up against USC at Memorial Stadium. So you look at Penn State. Signetti, cross them off the board, staying at Indiana. Rule, cross them off the board. Now, where do they go? And I think Eli Drinkwitz's going to be the next coach of Florida. If Penn State hires Eli Drinkwitz, it'll be a phenomenal hire. For some reason, I just don't see Jeff Brom being the next coach at Indiana. Manny Diaz, to me, even though Pat once hired him at Temple, I think it would be an underwhelming hire. I don't see Mike Elko, even though he's a Northeast guy, leaving A&M, a job where he was an assistant and then now became the head coach and has them humming undefeated. I don't see him leaving. People will say Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell's a good coach, a damn good coach. And what he's done at Iowa State is damn impressive, but you got to go win a national championship. And Matt Campbell, a few years ago when he was at Iowa State, he ran from those expectations of winning a Big 12 championship when he failed miserably and tried to pretend like that wasn't the standard. Pat Kraft and 2 hires that he's made, he's hired coordinators. Now, I get it was at Temple. Hired Jeff Collins, who was defensive coordinator. Hired Manny Diaz, I know it only lasted 17 days, was the defensive coordinator. So I think he goes that young coordinating route. But I think he goes on the offensive side of the ball this time. And my prediction for for Penn State is to hire Ohio State's offensive coordinator, Brian Hartline, for a multitude of reasons. They could spin it as, this guy knows what it's like to win a championship. That's what we're trying to do. Right? We need to get better at the skill position, the wide receiver position. This guy's coached some of the best wide receivers that college football's seen in the last 3-4 years. That's how I think they sell it. And also, you could retain Knowles if he wants to be there still and save on some money that you already owe him and have to just pay him and then go get a new defensive coordinator because Knowles and Hartline were on the same staff, recently, obviously, at Ohio State before Knowles did go over to Penn State. So I think it's going to be Brian Hartline. That would be my guess right now. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Before we take a timeout, some speculation that maybe Dan Lanning could be the next coach at LSU. This was on the Rich Eisen show earlier today. Here is Dan Lanning on all these job openings in college football, and is there any interest that he has of maybe leaving a very good job, or should I say a great job, in the Ducks of Oregon?
Probably more than anything, it makes me grateful for where I'm at, recognizing how fragile and special it is. It motivates you to keep working hard because you realize how temporary things can be if you're not moving in the right direction.
And so your interest level in leaving Oregon is less than because of this? Zero.
Yeah, I'm not leaving Oregon. Yeah, as long as I win. That's what I always tell my kids. Yeah. Right. If your dad wins, we'll be at Oregon. So I gotta win. Right. That's how it changes.
Yeah, I don't think Oregon has any inclination to move off of Dan Lanning anytime soon. And even though I've said that he could consider LSU, I don't think he's leaving Oregon for LSU with what he has right now at Oregon. If Dan Lanning is leaving, yeah, it could be for an SEC school, and LSU is one of them. It could also be for the NFL, but he told me last year, right before the playoff, that he does not have a desire to coach the NFL anymore. He wants it, but doesn't anymore. It's going to have to get really ugly one day for him to leave Oregon, I think. And, if he could have had the Alabama job a few years ago, which people pushed back on, they said it was only Norvell or DeBoer. If he didn't leave for Alabama, why are you going to go leave for LSU now? So I do think that Dan Lanning is going to be the coach, hot take, at Oregon next year. All right, we'll come on back. We're going to bring back the paper shredder. When we return, update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. The Dolphins and Ravens are both coming off wins and will kick off Week 9 tonight in Miami. Baltimore got off to a 1-5 start, a stretch that included 4 straight losses. Lamar Jackson missed the last 3 games, but he's back tonight looking to give Baltimore another lift as they try to become the 5th team since the start of the merger to make the playoffs after a 1-5 start. Their next 5 opponents are a combined 11-28. There are 3 NBA teams that are still unbeaten. The Spurs are one of them at 4-0 and host will take on tonight as Mitch Johnson off to a good start in his first full year as a head coach and said the seeds were planted immediately.
I think the first day of training camp, we talked about competitiveness and we talked about paying attention to details, and they're trying. We can be better. We can continue to raise our standard and be more consistent, but they are trying.
They will take on the Heat while the defending champion Thunder are 5-0 and host the Wizards. Nebraska has given Matt Rule a 2-year extension, ending any speculation about his future. The Nationals reportedly finalizing a deal to name 33-year-old Blake Butera their new manager. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com. That's infinitysportsnet.com.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. We're the Backstreet Boys, and you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God.
Alrighty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I got my paper shredder. It's back. I also got my hard hat on. You know, we are in a construction zone right now, so we don't want anything to go wrong. It's a danger zone. Danger, 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 danger. So the way that the paper shredder works, as we're entering week 9, as it does kick off tonight with the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens. We have 32 teams at hand. We are going to initially shred the teams that we cannot see week by week making the playoffs. Then when I get to a certain number of teams like we did last year, where I say to myself, okay, I could see all these teams making the playoffs, then we up the ante. And it's which team can we see not making the Super Bowl? And if you get shredded, you're out. And it gets down to 3 teams in the AFC, 3 teams in the NFC that we could see making the Super Bowl in the AFC and the NFC, and that will be the final 6. And we hope we get the AFC right and the NFC right, whoever is the final representation. So we start things off. The Cleveland Browns. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Oof, 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 oof. Woof, woof. They're 2-6. The defense is awesome. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks last week, but the offense is trash. The offense is garbage. The offense, dare I say it, needs to get shredded. That's right. Because of the offense, the Cleveland Browns are going in the paper shredder. Bye-bye, playoffs. Bye-bye. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. I don't love your head football coach. Kirk Cousins was the disaster last week. Hopefully Michael Penix Jr. is back. They're 3-4. They're a team that against Buffalo, you said, okay, here they go. And then they've lost their last 2 games. I'm still going to keep them alive for now, but they are on life support. They are on life support, but we will keep them alive for now. This team has already fired their head coach. They're the Tennessee Titans. They're 1-7. We don't need to waste our analysis with them. We will just shred the Tennessee Titans. Next up, Raiders. I feel bad doing this, but at least Stu Kovacs isn't here to see this. They're 2-5. They could be alive this week, but their quarterback stinks. Their offensive coordinator is a dinosaur. It's time to say goodbye to the Raiders' playoff chances. Who dat? Who dat? Who dat say they're gonna beat them Saints? Well, everyone in the league but the New York Giants. Yeah, they're 1-7. P.U. Stinky. And Tyler Shuck is going to be starting at quarterback. And I can't wait now for him to throw a pick 6. He was at Oregon, Texas Tech, and Louisville. Oregon, Texas Tech, and Louisville, second-round pick of the New Orleans Saints this year. And whenever he throws an interception, you're going to just be saying, aw, shucks. Sorry, Saints, you're not making the playoffs. Our next team, they were supposed to be a lock to make the postseason before the year started. Who thought the Houston Texans weren't going to win the AFC South? Now, they're still alive. They're 3-4. Didn't have a good showing last week up against the Baltimore Ravens. That was disgusting. The Colts are sitting there at 7-1. The Jaguars are at 4-3. Can the Texans maybe get hot and find a way to get, or excuse me, the Texans, they smashed the Ravens a few weeks ago. It was the 49ers that they beat. That is my mistake on that. But the Texans, they just got a victory last week to get themselves, to 3-4. They're trying to save this ship from sinking. Their next, really, 3 games are really going to determine this. They play the Broncos, the Jaguars, and the Titans. Those are winnable games, especially Jacksonville and Tennessee. I know you lost to Jacksonville earlier in the season. You already beat Tennessee. The Broncos are going to be a tough one. I don't love the Texans. I don't love their new offensive coordinator. Don't love the offensive line. But I'm going to hold them off because of that defense with DeMeco Ryans. Next up. Nico, can you make a case for your New York Football Giants with Malik Neighbors now out for the season and Cam Scatteraboo out for the season, why the New York Football Giants at 2-6 still have a chance to make the playoffs? Any chance?
No, I mean, I think they have a chance
It
this
doesn't
week,
matter
but...
what you think. We shred them. Goodbye.
That was cold.
That was a long shred, by the way. Nico really held that one out. He really did hold that one out. Ravens last week. I don't know why I confused the Ravens beating the Bears for some reason, thinking that the Texans didn't have a good showing up against the Ravens. It was the Texans that beat the 49ers. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to the Commanders. Their quarterback's been injured. The Commanders are sitting there at 3-5. I predicted before the start of the season that they were going to miss the playoffs. Even with that being said, let's see what happens when Jaden Daniels gets back. So for now, they're close to going into the shredder, but we will put them aside and we will not shred their season yet. The Miami Dolphins. Every game from here on out is a must win. They're 2-6. They dismantled the Falcons last week. It was stunning. They play the Ravens tonight. Even if they beat the Ravens tonight and they get to 3-6, do I see them going on a run with Tyreek Hill out for the season? There's all these trade rumors out there, maybe Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle. So who even knows what this team's going to look like next week? But most importantly, their team is ran by a bunch of bozos. That's what they are. They're run by a bunch of bozos. You got Chris Greer, he stinks. Mike McDaniel, he stinks. And Stephen Ross, I saw some video of him like yelling at the driver because he didn't pull up enough when he was getting off his private jet. All right. Walk a little bit, Stephen. And when you're walking, say Greer and McDaniel got to go. So there's nothing to like about the Dolphins right now. We shred their playoff chances. So I already shredded Stu's team, right? The Raiders. I then shredded Nico's team and the New York Giants. Now we get to Samter's true love. J-E-T-S. Just end the season. Now, they got a win last week. They beat the Bengals, who that defense stinks. Justin Fields was crying before the game, and he ended up playing well, and they won the game, and they came on back. But with that being said, the Jets making the playoffs. Death taxes and the Jets not making the playoffs. Wait!
What? What?
For some reason, the paper shredder wasn't shredding.
They're on a win streak.
I don't know what was happening there. All right, there we go.
The paper shredder was telling you the Jets are surviving.
No, they're not. So the teams we shredded this week, Dolphins is installment number 1. Dolphins, Jets, Browns, Titans, Raiders, Saints, and Giants. We kept 3 teams alive in the Commanders, Falcons, Texans. And if your team was not obviously heard, then they still got a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. We will tune back in next week to see who we will shred. All right, that will do it for the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will be back tomorrow for a big football Friday. Get you ready for the college football and the NFL. Nico Scarlato, Sia Maliava, Kudavitas, thanks so much. Big thanks to Michael Samter as well. Ack on the updates. And most importantly, a big thank you to each and every one of you for tuning into the show. Big thanks to Michael Brockers for joining us as well. Good insight for him about the LSU Tiger family and also the future of the Lions and the Rams. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. I'm Zach Gelb. I'm out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.